Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. The final outcome today will be the flag that flies out from this pole once the player has collected all of the strawberries. So if I go ahead and collect these strawberries here, and on the other side, you'll see the flag appears.
GameDev journey. Right, so let's now get into what we actually came here for, which was to make the flag and the checkpoint from the flag fly out when we collect all the strawberries. So we're going to create a new scene, and we'll use an area 2D as the root, and we'll rename it to checkpoint. And we'll add an animated sprite 2D as a child, and we will create the animation frames. Here we are. Now we've got to go and find the animations. So there in the Pixel Frog Pixel Adventure folder, there is a folder called, I'll tell you now, I'm just looking myself. There's a folder called items and then checkpoints. And in that folder, you'll find another folder called checkpoint. And that's what we want. Okay, and what we want right now is we want all three of those. Okay, the first one is going to be called flag idle. Checkpoint flag idle. That's going to be for our flag fly. So let's rename this to flag fly. And let's put all these in. So let's create a folder here called checkpoint. Create a new folder. I'm going to call it checkpoint. And there it is. And I'm going to drag these graphics in there. Here we got checkpoint flag idle, checkpoint flag out, checkpoint no flag. So flag fly is going to be our flag. It's going to be what the image is called flag idle. Idle is just going to be no flag, and trigger is going to be called flag out. So flag fly is what they're calling idle. So we're going to say import frames from sprite sheet. We're going to go to checkpoint, and we're going to choose idle, open it. Right, how many have we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. So 10 horizontal frames, 1 vertical frame, and there they are. And I think they're 32 by 32. Let's try that. No, they are 64. And there we go. So select all of them, add the 10 frames, and there we have our flag fly. Okay. Then for our idle, we'll add a new animation. We'll call it idle. That'll just be the flag, the checkpoint with no flag. So I'll just drag that in. That's the idle. And then we've got one more called trigger, and that's with the flag out. So we'll call this animation trigger, and that's the one with the flag out. So we'll again import flag out, open it. What do we got here? 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. So we've got 28 frames there. 1 vertical. That's all of them. Okay, so we'll select them all and go add them. So now we've got all the ones for the trigger. All right, so we've got our animations. we've got our, let's click on the idle flag. So let's click on idle. There it is. Zoom in a bit. Okay. We need to add a collision shape to this. So let's go add collision shape 2D. Create it. Okay. We'll pick the rectangle and we'll just fit it around our pole like so. Maybe up to the top. There we go. All right. So now we've got collisions as well. So next is going to be the actual code for this. So let's just save our scene as checkpoint. So we'll go to our scenes and we'll save it as checkpoint. Save. Okay. So let's add a script to the checkpoint and code it. Okay, so we've got extends area 2D and we're going to emit a signal, a custom signal. So we're going to say signal and we'll call it trigger. And what that means is when all of the strawberries have been collected, the checkpoint will emit its own signal called trigger. And something's going to listen out for that signal and do something with it. So when that signal is actually sent, the checkpoint will then play our trigger animation, which will extend the flag to fly out. So let's connect that signal right now. Let's go to node, click on the checkpoint trigger. Here it is. So let's connect it. And here it is on trigger. Okay, so what we actually want to do is play our trigger animation when the trigger signal functions. So we'll go $animate sprite 2D dot play and it's called trigger. So that's what will happen when the signal is triggered. So let's now go to our ready function, because what we want to do is when the checkpoint scene is loaded, it should be playing the idle animation, well, or just displaying the pole basically. So we can copy this and paste it in there and just change this to idle. It's going to play just show an empty pole. Right, so now we should add variables to mark the level as complete or not, because once they touch the flag after collecting all of the strawberries, the level is then complete. So under our signal here, I think we can add a variable called level complete, and we can say it's false at the start. So now what we can do is we can go to the animation finished signal. So we can go to animation finished, connect it, and once the trigger animation is finished playing, we can prevent it from looping and keep otherwise it'll keep pulling the flag in and pushing it out again. We just want to play the flag animation and mark the level as complete. So we can actually stop playing any animations. So we can say animated sprite dot stop. We can then play the flag fly animation. So play flag fly, and then we can mark the level as complete. So the level is then complete, finished. So now if we go to the checkpoint and we go to its signal, we can look for on body entered. So we can check to see if the player has entered or hit the checkpoint. And for now, we'll just mark it as we'll just quit the game. So when the player touches the flagpole, we're going to switch levels, but for now we're just going to quit the game. So we'll just say get scene get tree dot quit. All right. So now we need to add a checkpoint to the levels. Let's go to first level, 2D. We can right click on the first level node here and say instantiate child scene. Go ahead and choose the checkpoint scene. And I don't actually see it. Oh, it's up here. So let's put the checkpoint there. That looks pretty good. That's where the checkpoint will be. Right, so what we can do now is go to the player script, because now this checkpoint is only going to emit its trigger signal once the player has collected all the strawberries. So we need the player to keep track of the strawberries. So let's go back to our player, script, and let's add a variable to keep track of the strawberries now. So let's go to, what have we got? We've got strawberry count. That's how many strawberries the player has collected, but we don't know how many strawberries are in the level. So we're going to add a variable to keep track of how many strawberries are in the level. So what we'll do is we'll say, strawberry count. Let's add a variable here called level strawberries. Okay, so that's going to be how many strawberries are in the level, because this variable keeps track of how many strawberries the player's collected, and this one tells us how many are in the level. Now the flag should trigger if the player's collected all the strawberries. So what we're going to do to make it easier to count the strawberries is in the level over here. You see all these strawberries. Oh, we already added them to a collectibles group. That's brilliant, because this is going to help us count the strawberries. So we can just count how many are in this group. So in the player script, what we should do now is get a reference to this node here, collectibles. So let's add an onReady variable. We should be able to just drag it in. That should work there. Now, in the ready function, when the player starts, we're going to count how many strawberries there are. So let's go to the ready function. Do we have a ready in this player here? Doesn't look like it. So let's add it. Okay, so let's go here and we'll say function underscore ready. And what we'll do is we'll say our level strawberries are going to be equal to our collectibles dot get child count. There it is. And that will count how many strawberries are in this collectibles container. Now, in order to emit the trigger signal and the checkpoint from the player, we're going to have to add the checkpoint to a group, and we'll call that group checkpoint. So let's go back to the checkpoint here, click on it, go to groups, let's add a group, let's call it checkpoint. Okay, and there we are. Checkpoint is in a group called checkpoint. Okay, so now if we come back to the player, now we can add a new function to complete the level. So let's go ahead and do that. We don't have one. No. Okay, so let's add a function to complete the level. Right, so I'm going to go down here and I'm going to say function complete level, and we're going to say if the strawberry count is the same as level strawberries, then let's go var checkpoint equals get tree dot get first node in group, and our group is called checkpoint. And then we want to say checkpoint dot emit signal trigger, and that will trigger the flag to play, and then we can reset the strawberry count to 0. Now we must remember to call this from our process function. So we must call complete level in process. So let's just go to process. Here it is. Let's add in complete level. Okay, and now let's test it. So if we go to the first level and play, we've immediately got a problem. So to fix the error, we're going to use something similar to what we did here in the complete level function. We're going to add this collectibles group, this group of all the strawberries, to its own, well, we're going to make it its own group. So here we are in the groups tab, and I'm going to add a group. I'll make it global, and I'm going to call it collectibles. And we see now that the collectibles are part of a group called collectibles. Now we can use this same method of finding out what group they're in this ready function. Let's go ahead and copy this and paste it in here, because it's going to be very similar. We've already got a variable up top called collectibles, so we'll just call it collectibles. This is our variable here, collectibles. It refers to that node. So we say collectibles is get tree, get first node in group, and we want it to be the collectibles group. That will then go and try and access this node. Now, we should do a little test here. We'll say if collectibles is not equal to null, then we can go ahead and count the strawberries. Else, we will print collectibles node not found. Okay, let's save that and test the level again. So we can go and grab some strawberries and grab some strawberries here. And grab these strawberries, and then the flag flies out. So it works. One thing I must also tell you is I fixed my flag fly out animation because it was wrong. This is the trigger animation. When importing it, I initially had this set as 28 frames. It's 26 frames. I miscounted earlier. So make sure you go ahead and change that to 26 frames and re-import the animation, and your animation will play correctly. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you again next time.